Pie in the Sky Media.
3, 2, 1. Hello, Criminal Mischief Nation. Welcome back to another episode of Criminal Mischief, another bonus episode of Criminal Mischief with Carolyn and Branden. My name is Branden. I'm one of the co-hosts, along with the lovely and talented Carolyn Osorio. Carolyn, nice to see you again so soon after the weekend where we spent some time up in Denver, Colorado,
Yeah.
Rocky Mountain High.
Rocky Mountain High,
Did you ever,
Colorado.
did you get one glimpse of the mountains when we were there? Because it was so overcast the whole time. I didn't even know where the mountains were. We could have
You
been
know
in
what? I
like,
just was focused on the prairie. I
yeah.
I didn't get anywhere. I was like just in the booth. That was it.
Oh
That
yeah.
was my that was my view.
Oh yeah. Yes, you were.
Hmm.
Yes, you were. I had a lot of
Okay.
I had spread out responsibilities, but I spent some time in the booth. We had a great interview. We laughed a lot. That was really fun. Um, the Paul Holes interview was great. And we just got to meet a lot of true crime fans, some fans of the show, some hopefully new fans of the show, and just a lot of interesting people who have dedicated a significant portion of their lives to their consumption of true crime content. So it was
Did we say that we went to CrimeCon? I don't know if we said that. I
we
mean, I
were
think
at,
it's pretty obvious, but
we were at CrimeCon, which is the
yeah, we were at
yearly
CrimeCon.
yearly convention about all things true crime, um,
Hmm.
which was which was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. Got to
Yeah.
meet some people for the first time, and yeah, it was great. What was your experience like?
Well, I've never been before, so it was really interesting, and I always kind of lean into my reporter hat where I wanted to interview people. Like I could have made a documentary out of just listening to people's stories and what brought them there. There was people who, were just they wanted to consume true crime as entertainment, which is completely, okay. I'm not, this isn't judgment at all. And then there were people who had stories to tell. That one mom, um, she, she was, she feels that her son was falsely accused. And I could see that the torture in her eye. He's in this like super max prison and she's trying to get him out, has spent her life. Oh my gosh, there's Mac. Oh my gosh, she just did her
She
flag
usually
of
knows
the.
not to bother me when I'm working, but
I
I
know
don't.
she heard my voice and had to say hello. Anyway, so there was just so many different types of people, which is like something I really enjoy. I enjoy meeting people from different, just chatting in that way. Um, and it was just a really, like you said, you kind of have to be there to understand. But and then the other big thing, that my other big takeaway is that people have stories that they want to tell, but they don't know how to do it. And they were asking, like, the number one question was, why am I so passionate about podcasting and stolen voices of Dole Valley in particular? Um, and then also, how did I get into it? Like how do you get into podcasting? How do you tell the story? And I always just say, like, don't wait for permission. I think a lot of people wait for permission to do the things. Nobody's going to tell you to do it. You got to just do it. So that was really interesting having those conversations.
Yes, I do know. I was there and talking to some of those people, and it was and everything you said is like really well encapsulated. Everybody has a story. I didn't get as much of, how do you do it, or, or wanting permission to do it. Maybe I didn't indulge them as, politely as you did sometimes, because I get a little, you know, uh, anxious when I'm stuck in a conversation for a long time. But I tried to, quell that and really sit there and connect with some people. I think I did. I knew that I was doing something um, new for me because I was kind of uncomfortable part of the time. That's always a sure sign that, I'm reluctantly expanding. But so that was It was a great
Oh my gosh,
experience.
you and I are like so much alike. It's freaking insane. I mean, we're so different, but we're so much alike in that way because like
Yeah,
I get it. Like it's just it was great though. Like you said, expanding, learning, talking. I mean,
yeah,
it's all awesome stuff. And I think that there are, to your point, connections that you can make with people. And a lot of people had come up and said, "Yeah, I listened to the show and it's amazing." And that kind of stuff was so rewarding. I could see it in their eyes and just like, and it wasn't just about me, it was about the stories, that
yeah.
people are, Norma's story, is really, resonating with people and just everything that we wanted to get out with it of like, you know, let people know what happened. It was really resonating with people. So that was really, really satisfying, really satisfying.
And then if you look just beneath this kind of thin veneer of, entertainment, right? What I was kind
Mhm.
of struck by was this abiding sense of just the despicable nature of the human condition, right? That
Definitely,
that it is
definitely.
we inflict so much harm upon each other that there's a
And
convention
generationally,
that there's a
generationally.
that there's a convention about how we've institutionalized it as entertainment, you know?
But see, here's the thing. This is what, it felt like a fireside chat, at many times when groups would come up and they were all coming up and we were, talking and for me, it's like true crime is not just about entertainment. It's like people who are like, "Oh my gosh, she is a weirdo. She loves true crime." It's like it's the people who do that, they're just not they're simply not getting what is happening. Women it's 80% women. Gosh, it felt like 90% women. Whenever guys came up with their wives, like holding their bags and just kind of supporting them in it, I was just like, what? That's a great guy right there.
Yeah.
His wife or partner or whatever. And that was really cool. Because I mean, I feel like it was like 90-10. With the guys. There really wasn't a
I
lot
don't
of guys
remember
there.
seeing like a dude where I went, "Oh, hey, there's a guy." Like I'm sure that there were men there, but there were really not a lot of men there.
There
Not a
were
lot.
not a lot of men there. And
Yeah.
it was like mothers and daughters, best friends,
Yeah.
girlfriends. Like it literally, like I said, I wanted to make a documentary. I
Yeah.
wanted to be out there filming and talking and like putting it together. I can't believe that there isn't one because there are really interesting stories about people who have gone there by themselves, met other women, and then they just became friends and now they have this regular yearly exodus to CrimeCon.
Now that I
And
think
and I
about
think
it. Sorry, go ahead. No, I'm sorry, please finish. I just had a
and
thought.
and now that when I talked about all those layers of like people could be there, the mom who was there. I mean, it's all about connection, I think. People connecting with the hosts that they see on TV and they want to talk to them and they want to be close to them and hear what they have to say and bring that back into their own lives about these cases. There's armchair detectives. I mean, there's just so many different reasons that people are there and it goes to it's not just about the hellacious things that are done, the gore and all that, but like what you said, these are extreme cases of daily lives for people who are being gaslit, who are in toxic relationships, and I'm not saying everybody is in those at all. I'm just saying like, we can all kind of extrapolate things that we need in our lives. So I mean, I just found it like I love observing human behavior, so I was just like gorging on it in my way.
Yes, to a couple points that you made. There were definitely groups of women on their yearly girls' trip, 100%.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
um, with regard to the male female kind of split in terms of attendance, definitely 85, 90% women. But then I was thinking about it as walking around the convention hall, um, the hosts were mostly men. Did you notice that?
You
A
know
lot of the
what? Now
guys at
that
the
you're
booths,
saying that,
like promoting their little podcasts or their big podcasts or their medium podcast was 75, 80% male. So step up, women. Stop
You
being
know,
stop
hey,
being
hey,
consumers
hey,
and be
hey,
creators.
wait a second. Oh, who do you think you're freaking talking to, buddy?
Absolutely. We
And
need we
and
need more.
honestly, I didn't walk around like you because I was like in boots on the ground,
Oh
like
yeah.
talking and like,
Yeah,
hey,
yeah, yeah.
hey, and it was awesome. It was
Yeah.
awesome. But yeah, that is interesting because I didn't get a chance to and I kind of you know it's like talking about getting out of your comfort zone. Like, I saw Barbara Butcher at we interviewed her. She is having a new TV series come out. I saw her in at the coffee shop when we were there.
Oh,
And my first,
where I got my pizza.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Where I first, and I forgot to go back and get my latte because you couldn't get your pizza and it threw me off.
Right.
But anyway, like my personality, like I saw her there and I felt like, oh, this is a moment that she's having to herself. I don't want to interrupt her, so and then I just didn't want to run up to her either. And I think that, I kind of don't network the way that I should because I like to give people their space and I like to, but I
Same.
actually wanted to say hello to her, because she came on the show and she couldn't have been nicer. But what was really cool is that, even though she has this huge show coming out, she's like now thrust into she's kind of like a low-key celebrity, right? And she just looked at me, she's like, I can't believe this is happening. I'm just a regular person. So like it's just interesting even to achieve that level of fame that she has to have, have enough gravitas to have a show, she just sees herself as a regular person.
Yeah.
And then I think it was probably overwhelming because the true crime fans, like they are fans, like they are like, so that was kind of an interesting insight into kind of, to your point, like, people, hosts and people that are there and kind of
Yeah.
what they're experiencing and stuff.
So overall, I'm really happy that we went. I had some separate business there beyond Stolen Voices, but I think you in particular were a great ambassador for the show, and it seems like the network was happy, and and the show is maintaining its momentum and building a great audience. So it's everything's kind of working out. Would you
Mm.
go back to a crime con? Like, would you go as as a fan?
It's that's just not I wouldn't go as a fan because, and no, I do not mean this to be disrespectful at all. For me, um, I I liked going there. I've never been before because when I go to things like that, I want to go there as because it's an industry that I'm in. I want to have something to say. So that's really why I've never been there before. I don't want to go just to go. I want to go there to rep the things that I'm really passionate about and that's obviously Stolen Voices, Criminal Mischief, the Shadow Girls, these are things that I really care about and these stories. So, I it's not even, that I would feel like I was leaving something on the table if I wasn't going there doing something related to these shows or, for the things that I love to do. Um, but I don't know.
Yeah.
What about you?
No. So
Hmm.
one of the great things about having a show like Criminal Mischief with the massive back catalog that we've established is things like this week, right? Where we can
Yeah.
rerun an episode from last year because it's back in the spotlight because there's been a resolution. And I remember listening to this, um, and in several of these, open-ended kind of cases where like it's going to trial and we'll see, it's a waiting game. I'm like, it's a slam dunk. Like the person's obviously guilty, and you always kind of say, "Whoa, whoa, whoa," allegedly, and you keep me in line. But this was one of them, and and it's not
I don't think
like
it's over yet. It's
and
not
it,
over yet.
there was a conviction,
No, I'm talking about the daughter. The daughter,
sure, but the
20.
right, but the woman who was obviously the ringleader of all of it, who was the money and
The
who was the right.
mastermind.
So anyway, so well, I'll remind everybody of the story. It was a young couple. They were both law professors. They moved to Florida. They got married. They were well off. Um, he was an Orthodox Jew. She was kind of less, also Jewish, but not really, didn't really care as much about the religion as he did. They had two boys. Um, her family, he was from Canada. Her family was wealthy and living in South Florida, and they were more North Central Florida. And the marriage disintegrates, and she wants to move with the kids. He doesn't want to. The divorce law being what it is, right? You can't just take your kids and leave when the other parent is there. And you made a very ominous kind of statement about halfway through the episode where you said the only way that she could legally take the kids to South Florida was either if the husband signed off on it, which he would never do, or if he were dead. And that's was like this massive foreshadow. I mean, it's a murder show, of course, there's something like that, is in the pipeline. And you opened the series, you opened the show with the murder, and it was really nicely done from the point of view of the neighbor who heard a weird sound and then saw the garage door open and heard the car running and figured, oh, he's going to be backing out soon going to work. But then the car never backed out. And he was like, man, am I gonna look like an asshole if I walk over there and he's just like on a phone call or something? Um,
Mhm.
but he goes, am I a nosy neighbor or whatever? But then the guy looks in, and there's glass on the floor from the window and sees the guy shot in the head, slumped over the steering wheel. Okay. And he wasn't dead
Mhm.
yet, but he was about to be and rushed him to the
Yeah.
hospital. He didn't make it. And so then the investigation begins. And that's where we really get into, where your investigative chops really showed themselves. And it was the description of the car. I think it was a silver Prius, and the guy couldn't get off the fact that he thought it was like a gray or a silver Prius, and the cops ran with that. And then all of the surveillance cameras from around town, right, from like city buses and from street corners and stuff, and an ATM machine, and they find this car, and they find there's two dudes sitting in it, and they trace the car to a rental shop, and these fucking idiot guys. And I remember this from the first run of this episode, right, where these were stupid criminals because they left their cell phones on and they rented the car in both of their names.
I know. I know.
And listen, and I just had to rent a car, and I don't think there's a way to not rent a car in your name, to be honest, because you have to have an ID and stuff. But there's got to be a way to cover your tracks a little bit better than they did, but
Mm.
they didn't. Mm,
I
excuse
mean,
me.
it just makes you wonder, like, what do people actually think? Like, do they really think they're going to get away with this?
Yes.
Unless you're someone like, I mean, if I think about committing a crime, just for kicks, right?
Yeah.
Just for the show. It's like I'm so analytical, and I'm not saying I'd get away with it, but like I would want to, because you always think, I think that's the hubris, right? I would think, oh, I'm so analytical, I'm going to think of everything, every possibility, but you can't. You can't think of every possibility. You know what I mean? You think you can, but you really can't. And I think that that's where the grandmother, the mastermind of this, thought, here's the problem. I want my grandkids and I want my daughter. And there's two choices here. Either he signs off, which as you said, he was never going to do, okay? And then there's going that crazy step of like killing him,
Yeah.
right? And so
Yeah.
you said the dumb criminals, they weren't thinking, but then these other, really affluent, wasn't he like he's a plastic, no, a dentist,
Dentist.
and it's like they're just as dumb, but in different ways, and the grandma was so willing to manipulate her son, who was like the playboy, and who it was her doing all this stuff to manipulate her children,
Yes.
and it's like, he did it. So, the son had his own mind. He was a dentist and he chose to follow what his mother said, but like, going back to those layers of crime and humanity and using her motherly, just it's disgusting. Like to manipulate your son into being a part of killing the husband, like that's next level, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like I have sons, so I think of like you don't want to manipulate your sons. You want to support them. You want to love them. Hey, Criminal Mischief Nation. So, fall is in full swing, which means it is the perfect time to refresh your wardrobe. And that's where Quince comes in. Quince has all the elevated essentials for fall. Think 100% Mongolian cashmere sweaters from $50. Wow. Washable silk tops and skirts. And of course, my go to during the fall perfectly tailored denim that you can dress up or down. And at prices, I'm going to be honest, feel a little too good to be true. But here's the thing. Quince partners with ethical, top-tier factories, so there's no middlemen. And then they pass that savings on to us. I recently ordered the most delicious and fun-to-wear black flare-bottom pants, which feel really expensive with just the right amount of stretch and thickness with a midsection cut that adds a little design extra. And since the wool cashmere sweater I also ordered didn't break the bank, I'm now eyeballing one of their wool coats. Again, the design is just so classic, and the clothes are made with the kind of quality fabric that's built to last at half the price of a designer label. So keep it classic and cozy this fall with long-lasting staples from Quince. Go to quince.com/criminal mischief for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/criminal mischief to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/criminal mischief.
But there was also a thing in the episode that was interesting was that he'd been his sister's protector since they were kids. Okay, so the way that at least the character came across to me in the original episode that you created, he didn't need a lot of manipulation because he loved
Mm-hmm.
his little sister, and if he heard like she's being mistreated, it wouldn't be much to push him to these extremes. Okay, but back to an earlier point about if you think about a crime for the kick, just for the hell of it, and would you be able to get away with it? There are some things that I'd like to think that I would have a solution for, right? Like I would know that in present day, there's a camera on you as soon as you leave your house, everywhere you go. There's a camera on you. My across the
Mm-hmm.
street next door neighbor's ring cams, the camera at the intersection right there, every dash cam in every car going by me, right? The front, door of every business that I drive by, so how do you wear a disguise in the car? Okay. Wear sunglasses and like a fake mustache, whatever, right? And you'll throw them off, Or take the
Mm-hmm.
license plates off the cars and print out a fake temporary plate that you stick in your back window. Who gives a shit, you know?
Well,
So
you've really been thinking about this,
no, no,
Brandon.
I'm just saying like these are the things that got these guys caught. These are
Yeah.
if both of those things happened, which would be $7 at a prop store, okay, um,
Mm-hmm.
we never would have found them. They would have gotten away. I'm sure of it. They would have gotten away because that's what led the cops to them.
Mm-hmm.
So and
But I mean, I think that I actually disagree
yeah,
because his girlfriend helped set it up. And so and these guys were career criminals, so they were eventually going to get busted for something else. And they would use this as
yeah,
leverage
sure,
to see, that's what I'm saying. Okay, you've solved the problem with the license plate and all of that,
yeah,
right? But you didn't solve the problem when you have a collusion. There's other people,
that
the
yeah,
girlfriend gets mad at the dentist's son or the son because of their relationship. I mean, we've seen this so many times where
right.
she goes in and, hey, I want to get him.
She has an
I
axe to
want to
grind.
get,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
she's got an axe to
And that
grind,
was interesting because I was one of the things I really liked the tickling the wire, right? Because that's what got
Yeah.
him.
Oh my
They
gosh. I know.
Yeah,
I
it was
know.
great. She goes, hey, and there's audio of it. Like you hear the agent go up to her and go, hey, you helped us out and they helped you out, and now we need some more help, and you got to take care of them, and here's who you call and do it. And
Oh
then you
my
just sit there
God.
and wait. You wait
I
for them to
know
panic
because
and you wait for them to call and you tap the lines and all that. Um, and that was great. You see that in movies
yeah.
and stuff all the time. It's nice to to hear that that's actually a real world principle that
Well,
these
I mean,
investigators use.
again, like the people's personalities, like humanity, like we do get paranoid like this because then you start getting scared. Then you start like the panic is on. You want to talk to the other person to make sure that they're on the same page as you. And so it's like it totally makes sense to do this, even though we know that they do this, right? But what I was thinking that the really toxic part of this in terms of just family, right? Is like I think, and this happens in families where they probably were talking about her ex-husband constantly, gossiping,
Yeah.
like really frenzying with each other. They were seeing Wendy, who was crying all the time and was upset, and seeing the grandchildren and like just that whole thing. And I think it's just a if you have issues in your family, you know, you've got it's like I really love Mel Robbins, the let them theory. I don't know if you're familiar with her, but I love that book and I love okay, so basically so many people are so worried about what other people think. It ruins
Yes.
their lives. And we're all guilty of it, and it's really hard not to, right? And so Mel Robbins has like really created she takes this really complicated stuff and really gets it into bite-sized like psychopop, but that it works, right? Which is anytime someone does something, you just say, let them.
Mm.
Let them do that. Let them, fight between each other. Let them, and then let me focus on positive things, focus on things I can control, focus on this, blah, blah, blah. And so you try to incorporate that in your life, with your family,
Yeah.
with your friends, with your business, like you can't control what's going on. But then when you get caught up in this and then you start gossiping within your family and you start like I just feel like there was a lot of that going on here.
That's a
And
man. There's this public speaker and like a business kind of coach. You've probably heard of him. His name's Simon Sinek. He's amazing. And he had one of the, like, I think the second most popular TED Talk of all time. And I follow him and I read his books and I can't wait to see him live. But he tells this story because he was a business reporter for a long time. And, back 15, 20 years ago when the iPod was brand new and and was it Microsoft? I think it was Microsoft. They were they came out with a competitor with a handheld, it was called the Zune, Zune. Okay. And Cynic went and uh did a keynote speech at a Microsoft convention, and a Zune was in part of his like thank you swag bag. Okay. And so he was listening to the Zune and he really liked it. And a few days later, he was doing one of the same things for Apple. And so a couple of the Apple execs came and picked him up and they were driving him to the speech. And he goes, "Hey, just to kind of poke the bear a little bit." He goes, "Hey guys, I got to tell you, I've got this Zune and it's really great. It's even a little bit more intuitive than the iPod." Okay. Wanting to hear how they would respond and go like, "What are you talking about? Let me see it. And what does it do?" And what. And instead,
yeah.
cool as a cucumber, the Apple guy goes, "I have no doubt," and then just
Mm-hmm.
moved on because there's nothing he could do about it, right? There's nothing they're
Yeah.
completely already set on their design and on their interface and on their software and on their operating system and everything, right? So his job was only to make the Apple product as absolutely perfect and as best as it could be. And other companies are going to do whatever they do, and there's no point in worrying about it. He goes, "I have no doubt." Wow. Like
I
that's
know. And
it's
you
just
can
it's confidence
extrapolate.
and it's and
Yeah.
it keeps you sane, right? And it keeps you focused on what you can control.
I know. And I feel like a lot of times it's so easy to get off track and to swirl around in this and you can't change anything. They couldn't change that Wendy and her husband had a horrific divorce. They have these children, they're trying to figure it out and like that if you would have just let them figure it out, let
Let
them
them.
work this out, right? Let me continue to focus on our successful dental business and be support for Wendy and blah, 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 right? I feel like I'm like doing a TED talk for
All
her
right.
book, which
And grandma
doesn't need my
make the trip up
promotion.
north to see the grandkids.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. But instead, they hatch this crazy plan and their lives are all ruined.
That involves
And,
murder.
and, and Dan is dead and Dan has been murdered.
Yes. they had to plan that involves murder.
Yeah.
That's a level of hubris and a level of
Oh,
uh,
totally.
being and power hungry. And I don't accept that I cannot control the situation. I'm going to show you that I can control it. I'm going to hire these two criminals to shoot him in the face, and I'll pay him what they paid him 5 grand. Oof. What do you think you're going to get? I mean, that's really not. And
Yeah.
they tried to buy him off first. Remember, they offered Dan $1 million uh, that they were
Yeah.
going to
They were
split.
they were flexing. They were
Yeah,
flexing. They knew he wasn't, I mean, if someone's not going to take $1 million, that's how much he loves his kids,
yeah,
and that's, I mean, you just feel so bad for his, of course, for him and their children, but then
yeah.
for the parents that have lost their son. Like I watched some victim impact statements before we started, and it was just so, so sad. Like I'm sure they're like,
Right.
this isn't going to bring their son back,
So
you know?
the grandma got convicted, Donna,
Yeah. Yep.
and what's her waiting
They
sentencing
the
now?
sentencing will take place later. She hasn't been sentenced yet.
And the wife is also being
Wendy.
tried,
She has not been she has not been
accused
charged
or
with anything.
charged. No.
Nope. Nope.
Any other pending charges? Any other pending trials?
Nope. So the wife, or so Wendy, the daughter, wife to Dan, nothing going on with her, but that's how it was with the grandma too, but they were working the case. So
Yeah.
and then the father, like the matriarch's husband, he hasn't been charged.
But
So
so only one of the two shooters pled out and took a deal and turned states,
yeah,
or
yeah,
and
yeah. One.
he didn't implicate anyone else, but because it was something like the lady wants to be, I thought they were talking about the wife when he was talking about the lady, but actually they were talking about the grandma. He didn't implicate anyone other than Donna.
Well, I think that they just Donna implicated herself with these conversations with
Oh,
her
right,
son, the recorded, the tickling the wire, as you said.
right,
And then as they did the research and they found more against her and his girlfriend, the dentist, the son, I'm spacing on his name, she testified, and I can't remember if she brought up the mom, but they just followed the breadcrumbs.
Do you think there
So,
should be more charges? Like, what does your gut tell you?
I mean, I feel like Wendy is super manipulative. I remember when
Yeah.
what's coming back to me is when we talked about this the last time, and you were like, "Oh yeah, I totally believed her," and I was like,
I
"What?"
did.
She's immediately throwing her brother under the bus the
Yeah, that
second
freaked me
he
out. He
has that
said these things,
opportunity.
but he would never do it. It was a joke. Here's your divorce gift because it's cheaper than hiring a hitman. Like right away, she implicates her
And
brother.
then and then her ex or her boyfriend, she
Yeah,
was right there to throw him under too. Like, put it in reverse and like go and go and go. You know what I mean? So like to me, it's like she's very savvy and very used to manipulating. And if she, had her brother wrapped around her
yeah,
finger, which is weird to me, like, I mean, and she was I feel like she was probably um very manipulative. But look at the mother. I mean, she learned a thing or two from the
yeah,
mom. They were calling her, that was what they said, the defense said at the end, but it was almost too late. They were calling her a meddler, not a murderer, the
yeah.
grandma. Like
Oh,
they were trying to say, yeah, she was a meddler, not a murderer. Which, can you imagine having her as your mother-in-law? Oh my gosh.
they
Wow.
exist. They exist. I have some friends that are in the thick of it. I know.
It's
It's.
tough.
Oh, look.
But that's what I'm saying, like full circle back to these family members that, you can get. So we don't have a big family, okay? And
Same.
so my kids have always kind of lamented that they didn't have a bunch of uncles and a bunch of aunts and cousins and all that stuff. But I tell them now, like, you didn't, I get what you're saying, and if you have a great family where everybody loves each other and everybody, Thanksgiving's so good, but you never had to deal with the creepy uncles, the weird cousins, the like, all the like craziness that comes and all that stuff. And so I don't know where I'm going with this other than the fact that, like, yeah, you can get, that's why that let them theory is so great because, people are going to try to pull you into their
Yep.
drama. And it's so important to stay focused because it's such a waste of energy and you're never getting that back. And that's what I will often say when I'm embroiled in something. I'm like, I'm leaving because I'm never getting these moments or minutes back in my life,
Sure.
and I'm not wasting it here, you
Yeah.
know? So I
Yeah.
think that, what?
The comedian Tom Segura, I was watching one of his things and he said that he's enjoyed so much happiness and peace in these last few years since he made the decision that whenever anyone tries to argue with him about something, either political or religious or anything, he goes, yep, you're right. And then just ends the conversation. Refuses to get into any arguments. He knows he's not going to change anybody's mind about anything. So just like everyone think that I agree with him. And then he's so much more happy and more peaceful. And like, that is some evolved shit that I don't think I'd be able to do.
I feel like you have evolved since I first met you. I do.
It's
Because
because
you
of
would
the,
always just
it's because
try
of the
to,
bird. It's the
like,
bird. It's the bird.
no.
Okay.
Whatever.
Okay.
Whatever.
Well, that is a
Whatever.
goal of mine is to really, I like to say, I don't care what people think, unless they have an opinion that I really care what they think. and then, and then I feel like I have to get into an argument and it never goes anywhere productive. But
I know that the fact that you're
yeah,
actually saying that
yeah,
is progress.
maybe.
So
Well, thank you.
good, good for you. Good on you.
Well, listen,
Well,
it was great seeing you
the
this. It was great seeing you this weekend in Denver. It was a very successful weekend all the way around, and thank you, CrimeCon 2025. Hopefully, we will see you again. If you like the episode, please share this with a friend. Rate us, review us on Apple or Spotify. Any engagement with the algorithm really, really helps. I hope you're listening to Stolen Voices of Dole Valley, which is in wide release right now. I think episode 5 dropped today. Is that true?
Yes, episode
Yes.
5 dropped. And Let the Devil In.
Episode 2 dropped Sunday. Yes. MGM Plus, please tune in. Get a subscription. Watch the show. I think you'll enjoy it if you're a true crime fan. So, a lot happening. All really good stuff. So, thank you for your support. Carolyn, anything else you'd like to add?
Nope, we will see you next week.
All right. This has been Criminal Mischief with Carolyn and Branden. Still, until next time, stay safe out there, everybody.
Bye-bye.
From Pie in the Sky Media, Criminal Mischief is an EVO production, recorded live in the beautiful Pacific Northwest. We're produced by Brandon Morgan and myself, music by Soundstripe. For EVO Creative, I'm Carolyn Osorio, your writer and host.